lawmakers. As we've been telling you, voters are fed up with Washington in general. There's a brand new poll out in the past hour. It shows 74% think major changes are needed in government. 8% say D.C. is broken. It's got to be more than that. Is that 80%? 8% say it's broken beyond repair. And this new poll confirms the enthusiasm gap we've been hearing about. 51% of Republicans say they're highly motivated to vote next month, but 28% of Democrats say they're highly motivated. I'm joined now by Christopher Brace of the Democracy Cafeteria, owner and lead strategist with the Shopper Intelligence Agency. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
So you did this research on voter feelings, and what you found out is that disgust, that anger that we saw reflected in those polls, it isn't just about the issues themselves, right?
No, we were actually really surprised to find out that when we gave the respondents the opportunity to tell us what the issues were, they did not immediately go to policy. They did not immediately go to a particular political party, nor to the election. Did
they go to jobs? That would be the first thing people would think.
No.
That's what really shocked me, because we keep hearing about the fact that it's all about the pocketbook, but that's not what they told you.
No, what they talked about were a much deeper fundamental systemic issues within the country, really non-policy driven, but societal in nature. And that was what they really seemed to want to talk about.
So give us an example of the kinds of things that you kept hearing over and over again.
Consistently across the political spectrum, the number one thing we heard was a lack of accountability and responsibility, both from the media, the politicians, as well as American citizens themselves.
They didn't believe that they could trust what they were hearing in many instances.
No, and they didn't really feel that in general in society, people were taking accountability and responsibility for their choices and their actions, and that was leading to a breakdown of our civil society.
They actually used those kinds of phrases, a breakdown in civil society. There seems like there was almost an ethical element to some of the comments that they were making.
Somewhat. We want to be careful not to take it there, because that begins to get a slippery slope, and it tends not to be specific enough. What we heard is lack of accountability, responsibility, things like lack of courtesy, lack of respect, and all leading to a loss of a sense of community.
And when you hear about things like loss of courtesy, loss of respect, and obviously we're framing this within, the congressional elections, the midterm elections, but that's just society in general is how they're feeling about that we just aren't the nicest people as nice as we used to be?
Yeah, but it goes much deeper than that, because that tends to, I think, kind of smooth it over and gloss it over and can be easily dismissed.
This isn't just about somebody annoying you by answering a cell phone call in the middle of dinner.
No, it's not. It's actually coming down to, again, I think all of this, and this is what we're going to find out in the quant study, which is what is our next phase of the research. I suspect what we might find out is, again, all of this kind of courtesy and respect stuff ladders back up to accountability and responsibility. We think that's the number one theme that we heard. And what happens is that people are too self-promotion driven. They're too self-centered driven. It's too commercial. So we're not really thinking. In fact, we heard people talk about, look, if I've got it, I don't care that anybody else doesn't, as long as I have it.
Wow, it was absolutely fascinating. And are we going to have a sense, do you think, on how this translates on Election Day?
Not really.
Not a direct quantifiable
Not a direct quant.
link.
No, I suspect that when we get to the end of the quant, which is going to be released after this election, which we did on purpose, we are going to be able to say, here's why constantly switching parties every 2 years is not working and never will work.
Fascinating stuff. Christopher Brace, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.